Welcome to Lighting for Profits.
All light, all light, all light.
Powered by Emery Allen.
Get rid of your excuses.
Your number one source for all things landscape lighting.
That's where the magic can happen. You can really scale a business.
We really had to show up for each other.
From lighting design, install, sales, and marketing.
You're a scaredy cat salesman, Kurt.
We discuss everything you need to know to start and grow a successful landscape lighting business.
What do you think a hippo has to do with your business, Ryan?
Usually it's some weird childhood thing. Some bully kicked your butt.
I think the key factor here is trust.
Here is your host, Ryan Lee.
All light, all light, all light. Welcome to the number one landscape lighting show in Montana. Yeah, maybe. We'll find out today with our guest who happens to be from Montana. So he's one of just a handful of residents in the entire state. I'm like your typical tourist. I know nothing about Montana. It's probably like full of billions of people. I have no idea. I just know that I went to West Yellowstone and it was in Montana. Anyway, guys, I'm really excited for today's show. If you are looking to start or grow your landscape lighting business, you're definitely in the right place. We are America's favorite, sometimes Canada's favorite landscape lighting show. And we're here to educate and motivate to help you dominate in your business. So I want to thank you so much for your support. The 5-star reviews are pouring in one at a time. We did a little contest and we got some 5-star reviews. But if you have not been one of the awesome people to give me one of those reviews, please go give me one. I would really, really appreciate it. And it's not easy to do, so I apologize in advance. It's not like getting a 5-star review for your lighting business on Google, which is fairly easy. This is kind of complicated. You got to figure out where to go and all that stuff. So if you are one of the ones that have done it for me, thank you. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. And our guest this week, you guys, is Sid Graef with Spectrum Window Cleaning and a handful of other home service businesses. And he's a partner in the Huge Convention and just an overall awesome guy. He's part of the AMP Mastermind that we're going to talk about. So just really, really cool guy and someone that I look up to, someone that I've seen have some success. So I'm like, how does he do this? I want to pick his brain. So I was like, well, we'll just do it live on the show. So it's going to be awesome. So really, really excited to have him on. So make sure you stick around because for me, the last, 5-10 years of my life has been like, okay, who has done what I want to do? And then how can I do what they're doing? Because we don't have to reinvent the wheel. People have already done this stuff. So really, really looking forward to have him on. Make sure you stick around for that. Let's see. I want to thank Emery Allen for their partnership. And they're a great partner for us here on Lighting for Profit. So if you haven't tried them out. Oh, wait, what? What's the best way to stand out of the crowd? Well, being different. Set yourself apart from others in the lighting industry and impress your customers by installing Emery Allen bulbs on your next project. You'll discover a higher level of quality across the board, from the bulbs themselves to the top-tier customer support that you can expect to get if you have any issues or concerns. Right now is the best time to get started, so just reach out. What do you have to lose? Just email Tom Garber. Tom is a really cool guy. Not cool like you want to go clubbing with him. Okay, he's not that kind of cool. He's cool in that he understands your business and wants to help you out. So tomg@emeryallen.com is his email. Just email tomg@emeryallen.com. Get your contractor account set up and get your discounted contractor pricing. Just mention Lighting for Profits and he'll get you hooked up. So thank you, Emery Allen. And I'm seeing, every time I go somewhere, I meet new people. They are using Emery Allen. So that's pretty cool. So, but if you haven't yet, go check them out. And remember, don't go to their website. A lot of people are like, oh, go to their website. Don't go to their website because you're going to get the best pricing if you email tomg@emeryallen.com and mention Lighting for Profits. So, all right, you guys, in just a couple minutes, we got Sid Graef coming on, multi-business owner, okay? And I have a feeling it's going to be one of those great podcasts because I know him. I've heard him speak. I've learned from him already. And so we're going to pick his brain on some of these topics that he is an expert at, and I'm really looking forward to it. So before we have him on, I want to talk about something that's been on my mind lately. So let me share this really quick story, really quick. This is like the briefest, smallest story I could find. In 1992, actor, playwright, and filmmaker Tyler Perry wrote, produced, and starred in his first theater production called I Know I've Been Changed, which was somewhat informed by his difficult upbringing. Perry put all his savings into the show, and it failed miserably. The run lasted just one weekend, and only 30 people came to watch. He kept up with the production, working more odd jobs, and often slept in his car to get by. And 6 years later, Perry finally broke through when, on its seventh run, the show became a success. He's since gone on to have an extremely successful career as a director, writer, and actor. And in 2011, Perry was named Forbes' highest paid man in entertainment, having earned $130 million that year. He now has an estimated net worth of $800 million, you guys. And that's a very abbreviated story about Tyler Perry. But can you imagine what that would be like? Putting your life savings into something, doing all this effort, and then it just flops. Sleeping in your car for 6 years, doing everything you can. That's got to be so hard, right? And maybe you're like, no, I actually can imagine because I've gone through that. I've put my life savings into something. I've failed miserably, right? If you've been in business longer than 12 months for your first business, you've probably felt a huge failure. A lot of us do. Most of the successful ones have had to fail a lot, right? And so I want to talk about really just understanding like that this isn't an overnight success story for anybody, right? You need enough courage to be successful. If Tyler Perry wasn't courageous, he wouldn't have succeeded. It would have been way easier just to give up when it didn't work, right? And so I want to ask you, are you going through the motions of life? Are you letting life happen to you? Or are you truly taking advantage of that and living your life to its fullest potential? I'm incredibly blessed. I feel blessed. I feel lucky. I know they're different things, but I feel both. I've got an incredible wife and kids that support me. And sometimes, if I stop to think about what I'm doing, it's a scary thing. I'm afraid I'll realize that like this is difficult and maybe I can't do it. Right. So my trick is to not stop and think about it. Like keep living my dream. Right. Because what I'm trying to do, my vision is so big. It's bigger than it's ever been before. It could be terrifying if I stop to think about it. So I just decided I'm not going to think about it. I'm just going to keep dreaming about it. And so if you really want to do something, you'll find a way to do it. If not, you'll find an excuse, right? There's a quote by Helen Keller, and she said, the only thing worse than being blind is having sight, but no vision. That's crazy, right? And so what is your vision? What is your full potential? Are you living it? Are you even close to it? Have you even considered what your full potential is, right? So I want to just leave you a couple questions that you can ask yourself to help you formulate your vision, help you understand what your full potential may be, and if you're living your life to the fullest. Number one is, what would bring me meaning and significance? So this is an exercise you can, when I say, hey, work on your business, sometimes people are like, what does that mean? I'm too busy working in my business. How do I work on my business? Well, schedule time, first of all, to do this. But then this would be an activity you could do. So write down the question, what would bring me meaning and significance? That's different than like, what is my goal for the year? Like, selling $1 million, $2 million of lighting may not bring you meaning and significance, right? And so write these things down and understand that this is not a perfect process. Whatever comes to your mind, don't hesitate, write it down. It may not even seem possible. Maybe meaning and significance is you being at home, spending time with your kids every single weekend. And right now, maybe that's not possible. This isn't about what you think is possible. This is just what brings you meaning and significance, right? So don't limit yourself because you're stuck with a limited belief right now. And the next question, what causes me to feel significant now? And this question is also tricky because sometimes we don't know, right? So you might have to think about this one a little bit. And then when you write these things down, when they're revealed to you, just write them down. Don't think if that's crazy or not. Just write it down. And then you can start to dig a little bit deeper and realize, okay, these are the things that cause me to feel significant. How much of my life am I committing to these things? Because if you don't feel significant right now in a lot of areas, then maybe you need to evaluate where you're spending your time and your priorities, right? So how much time are you spending doing the things that bring you significance? In my experience, it's usually not a lot. It's like, oh man, this helps me get back to where my vision needs to go and help me live my full potential. A lot of times we're not doing the things that help us feel significance. And then the final one is, who do I admire? Right. So there's a lot of people around you. This isn't like a jealousy thing. This is admiration. This is someone that you look up to, someone that you want to be like. What things are they doing in their life? What characteristics do they have? Who are they surrounded with? Right. So in a sense, you can kind of reverse engineer your dream life to help you figure this thing out. So that's all I wanted to share with you as we get started. Remember, you guys, it's a journey, and half the time when I say these things, I'm like telling it to myself. There's a mirror right here. Remember, it's a journey, dude. This is not a 3-day challenge that we're throwing out. All right, 3-day challenge, get your dream life together and get your vision and all this. It's not even a 6-month to financial freedom course. That's not what this is about. This is a long-term vision. So the sooner you realize that, just get used to it. Get used to the fact that there's no such thing as an overnight success. Sometimes it's a 5-year overnight success. Sometimes it's a 30-year overnight success. The most successful people I know, they've had to put in the time, right? And that doesn't mean that you can't get mentors and shave off time and do all these other things, which we're going to talk about with Sid. But just start enjoying the ride. Get used to the fact that it's not instant gratification, and start enjoying the ride. All right. I think it's time to get our guest on. If you guys are ready, let me know. I think it's time. Just got to find those magical buttons to get going. Let's do it. What is up? What is up? Welcome to the show, Mr. Sid Graef.
Good morning. How are you, Ryan? Nice to see you.
Doing awesome, man. Thanks for being here.
Cool. You're welcome. Thank you very much for having me on the show. By the way, I love the stinger intro. You like the I don't know what you call it, the quick edit, but it made me think of the Tim Ferriss show where you got this little audio clip, and I was like, I'm starting to get excited. I'm like, what? Who is this guy? What's he gonna do? I know who you are. And still, I was like, this guy's mysteriously cool.
I love it. Now, you know what? I feel like when you do anything, you've got to be obviously educational when you're doing something like this, but you got to have a little entertainment. You got to have some fun with it, right?
Yeah, for sure.
I think that was one of my goals. I was like, hey, I want to do a podcast and I want to educate and entertain, because sometimes you look at like YouTube channels and stuff, and most of them they're not actually educational. They're just entertainment.
Yeah.
And they're the ones that get the most views. So I'm like, I need people to show up, and then we can help them. But if we try to help them too much, they don't show up.
Yeah. It's really interesting like that with YouTube, or with clickbait land. I'll see people online post. I'm in the window cleaning industry, and they're like, which is better, water-fed pole or traditional? And there's an argument, and it'll have 800 comments, but somebody could post like a nugget of pure wisdom that would help someone's business so significantly, like the questions that you asked in your before you brought me on about what would bring me meaning and significance. If you answer that question, that is so much more valuable than water-fed versus traditional. But that comment or video or like honest to God gold nugget gets like 5 clicks, 5 likes. Like it's hard to, I don't know. It's like pearls before swine.
Yeah, that's the story of my life right now. Like I've been doing this the last few years, and I feel like the content that I have, if people just consume, not just consume, but implement the content, they can afford. It's all there, right? But I haven't figured out the marketing thing, because the good marketers can do the water-fed poll, whatever, and like, is that really going to help you? Yeah, maybe there's some helpful information there, but it's not going to help you really get what you want in life. So. Yeah, I'm with you. Right. Well, I'm excited to have you on. You are a wealth of knowledge, and I kind of want to pick that brain a little bit to find out some shortcuts that I can get in life, and our listeners as well. So let's talk about you. You're in Montana. Do you think we're the #1 landscape lighting show in Montana right now?
I would put you easily in the top 5.
Top
You're
5.
definitely the number one. Okay.
I'm
So
going to start advertising. We're in the top 5 landscape lighting shows in
in
Montana.
Montana. Yeah. Yeah. So
All right.
landscape lighting, we talked a few weeks ago, and since then I've been paying attention because, and this is normal for an entrepreneur. Usually when I hear a good idea or a great concept or a good business, I start looking around. I'm like, hey, I could do that. Maybe I should start landscape lighting and add that to our little portfolio. And in my neighborhood, I actually went out for a run this morning with my dogs, and I'd never noticed it before, but one of the neighbors about half mile away has landscape lighting, and they've got a bunch of like firewood stumps from a tree they had taken down that are set along the driveway. They drilled a hole and put in the little the solar powered lights that
that's not okay. We gotta talk offline about what real landscape lighting looks like.
I know. And I looked at that and I was like, wow, that's the competition for a real landscape lighting. They're like, someone needs to move into this market and like educate and do some real landscape lighting in this neighborhood. Anyway.
Yeah, no kidding, man. Well, I mean, I got my start in window cleaning, so for me, it was like, wait, I can do a $400 window cleaning job or a $4,000 lighting job in a day. So for me, it was strictly a financial move at that point. And then I fell in love with the industry and the artistic side and design and the clients and all that stuff. But let's talk about you. So you started Spectrum Window Cleaning 20 years ago, right?
That's correct. Yeah.
That's awesome. Congrats, man. I mean, most businesses don't make it a couple of years, so 20 is quite the achievement.
Yeah, thank you. It's interesting that 20 years seems like such a long time when you're looking forward, and seems like a nanosecond when you look backwards.
Yeah, for sure. So what was, when you were starting that business, what was kind of the hardest part? Once when you get started, it's kind of easy because you're excited and you're passionate and you kind of make things work. And then you hit that point of like, wait a minute, is this what I really want to do the rest of my life? Did you have that like epiphany? Did you have that like hard spot?
Oh yeah. Yeah. In my origin story, the way we started was a little bit different. It was like window cleaning. I had no particular passion for it. I had done some window cleaning in Florida before we moved to Montana, but we found ourselves as a family, as the provider. I have a lovely wife. We had 3 small children, and she's expecting number 4. And we were freaking broke. Like, we were destitute. We had just moved back to Montana and was rebooting and starting again from scratch. And that came from a business prior to that took off spectacularly and then went straight in the toilet and left us like 80 grand in the hole. 0 credit, like no resources, no connections, no anything. And I was trying to build this other business, and it was fits and starts. And literally, this is not an exaggeration at all. We had been like 2-3 weeks. We've been on the mac and cheese diet for the kids and beans and rice for mom and dad, because that was cheaper than mac and cheese. And
I'm surprised you guys could afford mac and cheese. You didn't have to go to ramen, huh?
Right. I don't
enjoy
shopping Walmart, but we did back then, because you could get like 4 bucks of mac and cheese for $1, and it goes a long ways. But we were down to like, and I'm not joking when I say this, right? We were 80 grand in the hole. Completely, I felt so emasculated because I couldn't provide for my family, or I was not providing for my family. We were down to our last $20. It's the middle of the month. Rent's $975, doing 2 weeks. And I'm freaking out in the biggest way, going, I don't know what to do. But I had, like I said, I'd cleaned windows before we moved to Montana, and I had a bucket and I had some squeegees. And like, I told my wife, I'm like, hey, do you mind if I take $5 and go print some hand flyers? And I'm going to go out on Saturday and sell and just get some grocery money. And she's like, for the love of God, do something. We're dying here. She was a lot nicer than that. But so I went out and I did that. I grabbed flyers. I went knocking on doors on Saturday. I sold 3 jobs, booked them for the next Monday and Tuesday, and went out on Monday, 7 o'clock. I'm at Home Depot writing a hot check for a ladder, which was a big career highlight for me. It was $200.
And the stuff we learn how to do on this show is amazing. This is great.
Life hack: write hot checks. Don't get caught. I don't think you can even do that now, because they check everything on the spot. But I I went and did the first job, collected a check for $210, went straight to the bank, deposited the money. You know, it felt like whew, dodged a bullet. I had doubled my investment from $5 to 10, you know, at net. And I went and did the second job, and I got $200. I went straight to the grocery store, bought groceries, brought them home. My wife cried. I said, "It's going to be okay." And that was an incredibly humble beginning. But my goal was, my goal was pay the rent and feed the kids. I mean, it was more a desperation move than anything, but it was a skill. I grew up on a farm. I love working with my hands and working outdoors. So I just wanted to work and make money to provide for family. Well, that carried through for about 10 years. So I would qualify in a lot of regards as a slow learner, because I could have done a lot more with the business, but I just grew it slowly, fed the family. We had some success. And then at one point I was like probably 42, 45. I don't know. But I told my wife, I was like, "Hey, when I'm 50, I don't want to carry a ladder again." And she's like, "Well, you probably need to make some changes." And I'm like, "Yeah, I guess you're right." Because
So most of this time, this first 10 years was just you getting jobs. I mean, it was started knocking doors, and then it was referrals, but it was mainly you cleaning.
yeah, I was doing all the cleaning, all the, wearing every hat that there is. And I did have employees, 1 to 4 employees, as we grew, but I was still driving everything. And then interesting thing, I rented this little, it was a detached garage behind somebody's house in the university district in our town. And after about 6 months, and I loved it. We called it the cave because it was really a shitty little 2-car garage that had electricity and nothing. It had a dirt floor. But that's just where I kept my stuff, because I didn't want it to be at my house anymore. Employees showing up to the house to meet, and it was very disruptive to our family lifestyle. And anyway, some of the neighbors complained. Turns out there's a city ordinance against running a business out of your garage in that neighborhood. So we got a 30-day eviction notice from the city. I was like, "Oh no, well, I'm not moving back into my garage. So we got to find a place." And we were paying like $120 a month for rent, which was very agreeable to me. And the only thing I could find was a small warehouse. It was like $850 a month for rent. And I was freaking out. It's like, that's too much. I can't afford that. But it's kind of like shoving a bird out of a nest. Like, it's going to hit the ground and die, or it's going to fly.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay. But I just reverse engineered it. It was like, our average ticket then is laughable. It was like $200 a job. I was like, well, if I do one extra job every weekend, then it's paid for. Yeah. So pretty small thinking, but that was the catalyst for growth. And then we started doing silly things like implementing systems and having training on video. And I decided that it would be a really good idea to turn it in because at all this 10 years, I owned a job. Then I'm like, I'm going to build a business, but I knew nothing about a business. I know how to connect with people, and I could sell, and I could clean, and that was it. But then
how'd you make that turn? So then you had this epiphany, you had this realization, like, all right, I don't want to carry the ladder. I don't fully know what I'm doing, but even though you just shared that one little thing, okay, well, I got to get the shop $850 a month. Well, actually, I can do that. Those types of opportunities are awesome because they push you to do things you normally wouldn't do. And now you've at this moment of like, well, how do I do this? So what did you do to go from owning a job to owning a business?
Yeah. Thing number one is like, we have to grow, got to get more business. So I'd never studied marketing. The flyers I started out with were unbelievably but ugly. They were so silly. But winters are slow for window cleaning here. So I just got every book I could get my hands on about marketing, and I discovered direct response marketing. And this was like year 8. And we had averaged adding like 100 customers a year. And some of those were repeat. And that was, for 8 years. And so I developed a marketing plan and I implemented it. Some of what I did was trash. Some of it was great. And we ended up getting 1,200 new customers in 6 months.
Wow. Holy cow.
And I was like, whoa, this works. But that revealed, it's like the bottleneck.
And you're like, how am I going to do it? How am
I know.
It
was like, done? I don't have the capacity, and I didn't have the systems or training to bring people up to speed. It's like, it literally almost wrecked our business because we grew too fast. So then I just studied like, well, what's next? It's training, it's systems, it's customer service. And I just started studying, bit by bit to solve the problems that I was facing. And then the next thing literally is, and this almost sounds self-serving because you mentioned on the introduction, I'm part owner of the huge convention. I went to the huge convention 7 years ago. I think it was in Washington, DC, and I'd never been to an industry event. I thought literally, I was like, those are dumb. Why do I want to hang around with a bunch of window cleaners? They're all jackasses anyway. They think they know everything. And I was like, well, to my surprise, I went with the thought in mind. I was like, if there are 500 people there, there's got to be some serious business builders. I want to meet them. And I did.
That's
And
cool.
I was blown away. And I was like, why had I been so resistant to just getting a mentor or learning from somebody that's been down the road instead of, like literally, I would state that I'm fairly humble, but honestly, my ego beforehand was so big it kept me from succeeding because I wouldn't go learn from somebody else.
Yeah, I can relate. I used to think, people go to those because they don't know what they're doing, and I do, and I'm here making money while they're out drinking and partying, and it's just a party to go hang out, do whatever. That's how I justified not going.
Yeah.
So I can totally relate.
Very similar. So here's what happened. Like I had, I sat next to Howard Partridge was the keynote speaker that morning. And this dude, I was expecting like Billy Bob talking about how he started with one bucket and he got a second bucket and he's a miracle worker. And Howard Partridge took the stage, and this guy is such a professional, polished speaker, but he also has experience in the cleaning industry. And he built like a $4.5 million company that is completely turnkey. He's not even there. He lives in a different state from his business, and it's hugely profitable, and it allows him to pursue his teaching and education career. And I mean, talking about polished, I was like, wow. Well, I sat next to this guy named Brian Hegarty, and we're talking, and it's funny that back then the goal is everybody's like, I want $1 million business, want $1 million business, and that's kind of the mantra, right? Now I think nowadays it's probably 10 million. Everybody's like, got to get to 8 figures, not 7.
It used to take forever to get to $1 million. Now people are doing it a lot faster.
Oh God, yeah. Like it seems like they're not even trying. They're just implementing. They're standing on the shoulders of people that came before them. But Brian, I said, his business was like 3 times the size of mine. He was over $1 million. I'm like, let me take you to lunch. I want to pick your brain. He's like, sure, let's go, buddy. We went to lunch. He ended up buying my lunch. He shared one thing about how he handles receivables that net me an extra $50,000 in 2 years. I'm like, nice. That paid for the event. And I said, I'll never miss another one. And now I can't because I'm one of the owners.
That's awesome. Okay, that's very cool. Now that's awesome. So you're 20 years in. What does that business look like now? How many windows are you cleaning this afternoon?
Yeah. Oh, personally, 0. Yeah. That's exciting. As a company,
that is exciting.
Quite a few. We have 10 technicians and a production manager working full time now. So that changed the game quite a. Things are different now, I will say.
Yeah. No, it's awesome, man. Congratulations. So you've got that business, and then what are your other 2 businesses? I know you got a couple others up there as well.
Yeah, in service business world, we bought a car detailing business from a former employee 5 years ago, and that business, it's pretty small, but it's highly profitable, and it's complete. I spend about 10 minutes a week talking to the guys running it. That's it.
Nice.
That was cool. And then a little over a year ago, we jumped on the concrete floor coating bandwagon and started Love My Garage Floor. And that's actually, that's a different, it's not a different business model, but it's a little different service and larger tickets like the landscape lighting. Our average ticket's like $6,000. And so it is a different sales cycle and, lead thing. And I honestly, I thought, oh, this would be easy. I've done it before. Well, I forgot it took me 20 years to do it really well the first time. Right. I was expecting to do it in 20 minutes. So the first year was a struggle. This year, our second year now, our single team is running at capacity and it runs itself.
Nice.
To a large degree. So that's nice.
I mean, like you said, there's some hiccups and stuff like that, but you think about that comparison of your first business to now, or it wasn't even your first business, but your main business that you had there to this. Imagine what that's going to look like in 20 years. You let that have the same run. It's going to be insane for you. That's awesome.
Yeah, you mentioned something earlier, talking about time frames and for in people's lives and expecting to like make $1 million in 90 days or whatever. And I forget who I heard say this, but they're like, most people overestimate what they can do in a year, but they underestimate what they can do in 5.
Love that. Such a good quote. And it's hard to say that because like part of me as a motivator is like, and I'm thinking about this the last 12 months. I'm like, I need to start thinking bigger because you can do both. You can think big and say, yeah, I want to get to 5 million, 10 million, 100 million, whatever it is. But you do have to be realistic, So it is kind of a balance. One thing I was thinking about when I knew you were coming on the show was now you're in this stage of life where you do have multiple streams of income. I feel like 99% of business owners are not in that opportunity and they have to suck every dollar out to provide for their family. I remember being in that stage of life where like, crap, we're eating ramen and I'm going to rinse out the diapers in the sink. Like we're going to wash diapers. Like this is crazy. Right. And it's like, because we are in that position, we make bad decisions for our business.
Yeah.
And now you're in a stage where you don't have to like all of your income doesn't have to come from your window cleaning business. So you can afford to put some extra dollars back into it, whether that's paying your people a little bit more, spending more on company culture. Those types of things are huge. And the average small business owner is not able to do that because they're sucking their business dry just trying to provide. So
Yeah.
I don't know where I want to go with that other than like, I think if people can capture that vision of like, okay, I don't have to do things exactly how I'm doing forever. And if I can level this business up to free me of time to go invest in a auto detailing business, start concrete coating, start landscape lighting, whatever, now I can take a little bit less from this stream and that business is going to do better because of it.
Yeah, 100%. That and I heard Chris Lambertini's. He actually is one of the founders of the huge convention. He and his brother run Window Cleaners Resource. And I was talking to him one time about this very thing, and he said, "Don't starve the baby." And I said, "What?"
Mm.
He's like, "Your business is your baby, and you can't starve it. You have to feed it. So if you're taking everything out, you don't feed the baby, it stunts its growth. So don't starve the baby." I'm like, "Oh, yeah,
That's exactly right. Yeah.
duh." And there's pretty simple ways to do that. And it's always interesting to talk about it from perspective of already having lived through it rather than when you're in the heat of battle. Sometimes it's hard to wrap your head around how simple it can be to step out of the battle. But people can feed the baby very well by doing something simple like just number one, like check your budget and make sure you're not spending everything you make. And number two, is like plug the holes in your bucket. But probably more importantly or faster results is evaluate your pricing and raise pricing or add a level of service that's a much higher price, that gives you more margin so that you have extra money to feed your baby.
Yeah, love that. I mean, I'm a pricing fanatic. All I do is eat, drink, and sleep and talk about pricing and sales. So I love that. It's the easiest way for anybody listening right now is even if you don't go to the huge convention, if you don't sign up for Landscape Lighting Secrets, if you don't do anything, you can raise your price today and make more profit. I mean, it doesn't require any investment in anything. You don't even have to hire more people. It's just the one thing that anyone can do today. So it's just like wake up and do it.
Let me clarify. You are a pricing savant. You're like,
that's even
you're really good with pricing and understanding value and positioning. So
yeah, then there's a lot of tricks and tips, and a place that we were just at is the huge convention. So you're the MC. You're part and owner of the huge convention, but you're also the MC. You keep the thing going. You do all that. Obviously the huge convention is just once a year, but what can people expect from the huge convention?
Oh, there are three things that the huge convention is excellent for. Number one is education. It's like we don't focus on technical education, like here's how to clean a window, here's how to power wash a house, even though there are some classes like that, but it's the entire focus of the huge convention educationally is to help you understand how to run and build a better business. It's not how to be a better technician, it's how to run a business. And there's a vast definite gap between there. But it's the E-Myth. It's like good technician decides to start his own, doesn't know how to run a business, struggle. But a good business person can own a business and never do the technical skill and have a fabulous business. So that's one, is education. Number two is, and it was my favorite because I'm a people person, is just networking. It's like you get to meet the people that are kicking ass and learn from them, or you meet people that are struggling and help them. And I find that incredibly valuable. And then the third for you, you gearheads, like I do like to get my hands on the latest piece of equipment and check it out. We had the world's largest trade show for the industries that we represent. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's awesome. There's, I don't know the exact numbers, but over 1,000 people there, attendees, a ton of awesome people to network with. I've met so many people. I mean, I met you through the huge convention. I met you through the AMP Mastermind. So we might as well talk about the AMP Mastermind too. I guess, yeah, you want to introduce what it is? That's how I met you and a bunch of other all-stars in the home service industry.
Yeah, for sure. And thanks for pitching such a softball. I love that. I'm just kidding. No, really. So
Try to make it easy. We're trying to elevate the industry. So why not, make it easy.
It's true. So backing up a half step, my background is the 80-20 show. So the 80-20 principle is where I spend a lot of my time and thinking. I like to be principle driven.
What is the 80-20 principle?
80-20 principle simply states that 80% or more of your results will come from 20% or less of your efforts. So, and that's like for you as a business owner, if those of you watching, like, you don't make a lot of money from checking your email 40 times a day. You make your money by providing the service that people are paying you for, like ultimately. So sales is probably more important, checking your email. And then production may be more important than the other thing. Marketing is like a big tool that's way more important or more valuable than cleaning a window. But that's the premise is like to find the levers that will move you forward or give you bigger results a lot faster than, with a lot less effort. It's like in our town, Missoula is the location where a river runs through it. The movie Brad Pitt.
Yep.
It was written about Missoula. It was filmed near here. And in summertime, like now, like everybody's floating the river. They grab an inner tube and a 6-pack of beer and a bunch of friends, and you just go hit the river, and you can float downstream with exactly zero effort. But if you decide
is Brad Pitt there? Do they have?
He's always there.
He's just casting.
You got to tick tock. It's the metronome. Cool. You got to do the thing. But if you want to go upstream, you're going to work really hard, and you're not going to get very far. But that's what a lot of us do in their business. What I did, like I just spinning my wheels, working really hard, trying to learn everything by experience, making it up, trial and error. Well, that's really dumb, because you can learn by trial and error, but you're not going to live long enough to really get great. Like, we don't have that kind of time.
Yeah.
So you asked about the AMP Mastermind, the Amplify Mastermind program. It's a group of higher level, everyone is in service industry, but high level businesses, like most of the guys and gals there run a 7-figure, some even higher, some 8-figure businesses. And they're looking at taking things to the next level. So in the 80-20 world, like one of the best things you can do in the simplest ways to accelerate your business is to get around people that are accelerating their business and learn from each other and bang up your ideas, vet your ideas, and get advice. I view the AMP Mastermind members like yourself as you're all my informal board of advisors.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a lot more valuable to learn from people that have been down the road and done it successfully, and then get advice from people about your ideas to see if they have legs or not, than it is to just, throw spaghetti on the wall and hope something sticks and you don't get arrested.
Yeah. No, I love it. And the thing that I like about it is, if you go to like a conference or even in a Facebook group, you don't really know the level of experience that someone's answering your question. You start networking with someone and you ask a group of people, hey, what would you do in this situation? And you get all these answers. So you go do that, but you don't really know how qualified that advice is, right? You get a room together like an AMP, and it's like, no, this guy does $1 million in Christmas lights. This guy does a couple million in cleaning. There, to me, that's more qualified. Like they actually have done what I'm trying to do. So when I ask them for advice and say, "What do you think about this idea?" and they say, "Ah, don't waste your time on that." I respect that opinion. I'm like, okay, well, maybe that will save me some time, as opposed to someone else who says, "Oh, don't waste your time on that," and you find out that they barely cleared 80,000 in revenue, and
Yeah.
then they've never really gone through what you're saying. So, some of the advice out there is really bad in some of the groups or some of the people that you meet. But when you go to the AMP mastermind, they really are qualified people, and they all have the same dream, the same vision of like, how do we level up, no matter where they're at. Everyone in that room is trying to level up.
Yeah. Most of the people there are committed to having a business that supports their freedom, like a business that is a blessing to them, not a burden. They like, don't be the operator, be the owner. Don't just be the owner, be the investor. Like and those are different level conversations and different goals.
Why is that? We all started our businesses to be a blessing, to get the freedom, and then we started. It's like, man, this thing's a burden. Like this sucks.
Well, you probably experienced it. Do you remember going for like when you used to work 80 hours a week and you were just exhausted?
No, I got to that point where I was like, I used to love it. I used to tell people it was awesome being an entrepreneur, but I think I just want to go get a job. Like I can be done by 5, make decent money. Like, what's the point of all this stuff? It's vivid in my mind. I mean, that's I'm never going to forget those feelings, and it's unfortunate that people have to go through that because there are ways to do it. There's so many people like yourself that have also gone through that, and now you're doing it a second, a third, a fourth time, and it's not that hard for you. There's still challenges, but it's not. You guys don't have to eat mac and cheese this time.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. True. True. We eat tofu. Yeah. I'm just saying.
Wow. It's really elevated. Yeah.
One of my employees just dropped off a bunch of elk in our freezer at work.
Montana.
Yep. And it's stuff that
This
her
is
husband
such a
hunted.
Montana conversation right now.
Oh, and I will tell you, my wife is very strictly vegetarian, but seafood, and it's for health reasons, right? Like red meat makes her joints swell, stuff like that. But seafood doesn't. She won't eat chicken. That's about it. A lot of tofu or things, but wild game like elk, she eat the hell out of elk, and it doesn't affect her joints
Really?
at all. It's crazy that a wild game has such a different effect because you think it's it's red meat, it's like a cow, but it's not. It's like the Cadillac of cows.
Well, and yeah, it's the Cadillac of cows, and in Montana.
True.
I mean, it's like, it's prime.
True. Hey, let me look back around to something you said when you were in the intro. You asked a few questions, and you said, what would bring you meaning and significance? What caused you to feel significant? And who do I admire? So one of the things that I found that I find incredibly valuable and almost always overlooked, or people just step over it, is when you're starting your business, to actually start with those questions and to start with being very specific about what do I want in my business. Because there's a big difference between going, hey, I just want to work 3 days a week, make 100,000 a year and call it good. And that's a solo guy. You can do that in window cleaning or landscape lighting or power washing. You could net 100 grand pre-tax, working 3-4 days a week and have all your weekends, take a lot of time with your kids. And that's cool. You're trading your effort for money. And then, we mentioned before, is like, it used to be a lot of people's like, I got to get to $1 million, got to get to $1 million. Having $1 million business, having a multi-million-dollar business is a far different animal than just doing the work and going home. Like I had a lot less stress when I worked by myself than I do having employees. I mean, we have 22 employees, and I feel very responsible for them. And I think about them all the time. I pray for them. I think about them. I go see them. But I want to make sure that like there's a lot more moving parts in that. But it also has a different reward, set of rewards, because with the employees, like right now, it's middle of the day. I'm having this beautiful conversation with Ryan Lee. Well, I've got 22 people working on my behalf for their own self-interest. And that gives me a lot of time freedom. Decide what you want.
Yeah, it's short-term, long-term, right? That's the way I look at it.
Yeah.
Like you said, if you want just the money to pay the bills, spend time with your family, it is kind of less stressful because then you don't have to have these people that you rely on and they rely on you. I mean, it can be very stressful, but now you've invested that 20 years into them, into the business, and now it does allow you that time freedom. So I love that you said start with that because that I kind of went quick on that stuff, but literally like that is like so key. Like if you can understand what is the vision, what is your purpose, what are you trying to do,
Yeah.
then you can reverse engineer it. Because I mean, I went years, at least 5 or 6, maybe even 7 years without understanding that at all. And I was just in that same trap as you were. It wasn't a trap at first. It was just like I just got to provide for my family and then I figured out how to do that. But then I was like, is this really what I want? That's when I started realizing like this is not that exciting. This does not do it for me.
True. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. So, um, mindset. I mean, that kind of gets into mindset, its vision, its purpose, all that stuff. What you mentioned some levers that you can pull that give you bigger results. What are some of those levers that you can pull that give you the bigger result, less effort that you've
Yeah.
learned over the years?
I'm going to answer that by first asking everybody to like, have you ever seen, you can look it up online, just look up image of an iceberg. You have a picture in your mind, and there's motivational posters and stuff, but like a
Yeah.
picture of an iceberg where you can see above the water and below the water, and it's really fascinating. But what you realize is that 95% of the iceberg is beneath the surface. You don't even see it. And that's like most of our life. The stuff above the line, that's like the icing on the cake or the sprinkles on the icing. It's not really what's going on beneath the surface. And so going back to the questions you asked in your intro, it's like if you want to build something meaningful, you have to start with a foundation. So you got to know what your foundation is, and that's built on the principles that are beneath the foundation or your belief systems that are below that. So to answer your question, what are the levers that you can pull to get bigger results or better results with less effort? Well, number one, if your desire is to build a company that is a self-managing company that runs without you, that profits without you, to a large or to an entire degree, you're going to have employees. Most of the small business owners that I've ever talked with, they have self-limiting beliefs like this. It's like, well, good help is hard to find. Well, nobody wants to work these days.
I've never heard this. What?
Yeah, you hear this all the time. They're like, you can't find good people, or I mean, and honestly, that's bullshit. Like 100% bullshit. Because if you ever gone into a coffee shop or to, even a retail store, anything, and you have people that give great customer service, you see great employees in other places. Well, how come they don't work for you? So you have to discard. You got to take out the trash on those shitty beliefs.
I love that. It's like, yeah, you go into this world and you go into the department store and no one works there because it's just too hard to find. The labor market's hard. You go to order food, there's literally no one in there. Like, I just make it myself. And there's just a sign that says, shitty labor market. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. And that is a cop out. Now, what's happening with a lot of the marketplace now, employees, younger people, they're like, young people don't want to work. And it's not true. It's like young people have options now that they didn't have when you were a kid. It's like a young person now can use, online tools and their cell phone camera to build a brand and make $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a year as is an influencer, or as it's doing drop shipping or do things like that. And maybe they're a lot more interested in doing that than waiting tables to make ends meet. So they're doing something else instead. So the inverse of that belief system, if you go, people don't want to work, or if you want it done right, you have to do it yourself. Well, you just have to push that out of your mind and you go, if I want to have great employees, it starts with you and your company culture. And you go, if I want to attract great employees, I need to be a great employer. I need to set up our business as a place where people want to work. That's more than just having a ping pong table in the break room. It's like having core values that are meaningful, supporting your employees in a way that they understand you've got their back. It means like giving people an opportunity to grow. And here's a direct example of what I mean. So when we started out, I was just trying to pay the rent. And I had a couple of employees and they were great guys and we just worked together. We just worked buddies. And then when we started putting it together to go build a business, I was like, you know what? I don't want to view this as like, I'm just a window cleaning company. First change we made was just a mental shift. And I said, I want to be viewed as a community partner, someone that builds community in Missoula, Montana. So I started volunteering with like the Missoula Children's Theater, and we would donate window cleaning to them. And the same thing for the food bank and for the children's shelter. And we started doing things. I didn't have a lot of money, but I could go wash their windows in a couple of hours. And it was a big deal for them. And it was giving for me. And then I ended up being on the board of directors on the theater. And it's like a $5.5 million a year budget nonprofit. So I just started to give within the community. And I was like, oh, cool. Then next thing you know, it took about 2 years. People in the community didn't go, Sid the window cleaner. They'd go, oh, he's on the board of this, or he's the community leader. I was like, that was fascinating change. So I did the same thing in our company. I said, and you probably heard this with some service businesses, and I think it's fantastic. People go, we're a customer service company that just happens to clean windows.
Yeah,
well, that's cool. But we shifted that one layer bigger. And my view or vision for my company is like, we're not a window cleaning company. We're a leadership development company. I'm teaching young men and women how to lead and how to step forward in their own lives and to be a stepping off point for their greater career. I want to make sure when somebody comes to work for us, they learn valuable life skills and business skills that they can take wherever they go. And it makes me very proud that probably 25 of my former employees have started their own business. Like, I think that's freaking cool.
Dude, this is crazy good.
Yeah.
So many things right now. This is good. Keep going.
And then the B side of that people go, oh no, you're training your competition, or well, it sucks.
Yes.
You have somebody that works for you for 1 year or two and they move on. I'm like, guess what? The kind of work that we do is fairly transient anyway. It's like cleaning companies don't usually keep people for 20 years.
This is so big because most people don't have that stance. They're like, well, yeah, why would I hire someone so that they can go do something else or start their own business or whatever? And you totally just accepted it, embraced it, and is like, no, we're actually going to help train you to be a better leader so that you can go do what you want. That is so powerful.
Yeah.
That's no wonder you're not having an issue with growth.
Yeah. That's 80-20 principle. It's like, I found out which way the water's flowing and said, well, it's flowing downstream. I'm going to go that way and I'm going to embrace it and see how we can maximize that. So, got my inner tube and I'll be like, hey, we should have a cooler full of beer on this ride. That'll make it a lot more fun. So we did the same thing with our people are going to come and go. If we treat them really well, if we train them really well, if we support them really well, they'll perform better in the company. It's better for them. It's better for us. They'll make more money. We'll make more money. And maybe they'll stay longer. My goal now, instead of having, find somebody that's going to stay forever, is if I can keep people an average of 3 years, we are killing it.
Nice. That's have you read the book, The Dream Manager?
Yes, I have. And I took that phrase, if we can keep them 2 or 3 years, exactly from The Dream Manager.
That's awesome. And it's just like, I didn't think like all the stuff that you just talked about. I didn't start thinking about that until I read The Dream Manager. And I was like, wait, why am I trying to go upriver here? Why not just embrace it and enjoy the ride? Go down the float. And it's okay if someone wants to, if it's a stepping stone for a year, like just embrace it. I love what you talked about. We're not just, we're a customer service business. We just happen to do whatever, but taking it the next level of like, no, we're a training company. We're a leadership development company. Can you imagine? Like I'm imagining myself in a meeting somewhere where a guy gets up and introduces him that way and says, but we do happen to clean windows or whatever. Like I would instantly want like my kids and their friends to go apply to work at this place. Like, you guys, this is an awesome opportunity, So that's so killer. You're not finding people, you're attracting people.
Yeah. And I will tell you, like, something that's really nice, especially in the current labor market and this shift happened 2 years ago. There's a backstory we probably won't go into, but I made a very specific decision to focus on culture. because I was like, after 17 years, I was ready to quit. I was so frustrated with our business. This was after 2020. But I took a week off. I went to California. I checked in a hotel where I could see the bay. I was in Marina Del Rey, and I'm like, I'm rewriting the rules here, and we're going to put it to the test. If it works, great. If not, F it, I'm out. I'll do something else. I can work at Costco. You know, I mean, that would never be reality, but that's where we
good. Yeah.
And the thing we did, focus on culture and price increase, and that was it. And we, it put our business into the red zone, like red line, not the red zone money wise, but in the speedometer, the tachometer went bam. We're going to full speed ahead. But with the culture, having to struggle to find employees is a pisser. Having employees come and talk to you and go, hey, I've got a friend that needs a job. Hey, I've got somebody that was on, my brother just moved to town. Do you have any opening? Having people recruit for you, that's when people start referring and bringing people like to work for us. That's when I knew that the culture piece had worked. It was like, people want to work here, and they enjoy working here so much that they want to bring others in. I'm like, oh God, that's way different. Way different.
Love that. Well, and the interesting thing is you did two things. You did culture and pricing. Most people can't afford to work on their culture. You know, they're just paying people the minimum. They don't really have time to work on their business to understand how to build a culture plan or anything like that. And then it's like, how do I afford to spend more time? Like, we have to work. We can't take time to build culture. We have jobs to do. You know, we can't take a Friday off or whatever.
Okay, there's another lever for you. I used to view employee meetings as it's like, oh my God, they're costing me $150 an hour to have these people sit still and talk. Like, get to work. I didn't realize that time, that morning muster or that weekly meeting or whatever it is, like to set the guidelines, to reaffirm your team and to give them a vision for the week. Because most of your employees, they're not doing the annual vision. You are. You've got your goals. Theirs is not. Theirs is, I got to pay rent. I've got a hot date. But if you can realign them every week, like, everybody's more effective. It separates some of the chaff from the wheat, and people, they can run hard in short sprints. They're not in a marathon. You are, as the owner, but they'll sprint hard. So I found out that, like, that morning meeting makes your company more profitable. It makes your company, it eliminates a lot of stress because you can preempt most of the problems that are going to come up. So we just embedded that culture piece into the morning meetings. And we did it like this. We adopted a personal development plan, which involves reading 3 books in order to get your next raise. You got to, your first week, you got to read the Fish book. Fish book is the story of Pike's Place Market. And it's got these really key culture bits, like, work doesn't have to be fun to have fun at work. Choose your attitude. Those are easy. They don't cost anything. And we teach that. And then there's another book and then another book, but we just started focusing on that culture. And here's a funny story. We started trying to define our culture and our core values. And our first core value run, like, we had to change it because of the acronym, and we had a mixed thing, but it was dedication, innovation, courage, kindness, and solution oriented, which the acronym is
DICKS.
dicks. And then the guys were like, bring your dicks to work. We're all dicks. Blah, 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 blah. And
Hold on. Was that random?
It was random. Like, I did kind of guide it a little bit, but I let everybody come up with the words. And I see where this is going. Nobody gets the acronym till after.
It just happens. Some things are just organic.
And those are great values. And then we changed it because we couldn't walk around talking about our dicks all the time.
It's awkward, I mean, in this world, you can do more than you used to be able to do, but it's still just not as accepted, as it should be.
Yeah. But then that opened the door for us to, like, we have our core values for work, and then we have our core philosophies or fundamentals the principles that guide us as people. And
what's the acronym now?
Now the acronym is Clean Fit. It's not really an acronym. It stands for Clean, Fun, Innovation, and Trust.
Yeah, that's lame. Let's go back to dicks.
I know, exactly. But we teach principles like, and you'll recognize these from AMP because I borrowed most of them from there. Is like, be a giver, not a taker. Choose courage over comfort. And when you start bringing that into your languaging and then helping people understand how that applies, and then reinforcing it or reminding people on a weekly basis, not through a sermon, but through, like we did a dumbass challenge one time that was really effective. I put everybody's name in a hat, and I had everybody like pick a name of the hat, and you take this name, and one of the core tenets of the fish book is make someone's day. And so everybody drew a name, and their goal for the week was to make that person's day. And It was the coworkers. And but that poured over into so many other things. They were making somebody's day for their employer, not for the employer, for the customer. Yep, for me, it's all about me. Make my day.
Every name they had, Sid.
Yeah, no.
Sid.
This is okay. Everybody, want to announce that this week is suck up to your boss week. Make sure and bring me something cool. Yeah, we don't have one of those, but
that's awesome. So you slipped in there that they have to read 3 books in order to get their next raise.
Well, they have to complete their first book within the first 2 weeks. That's part of the training. So our first 2 weeks is basically a working interview. So everybody has to we need a little time to make sure that we're a good fit.
Mm-hmm.
And then once they click that, then they can get their first raise. And then when they want their second raise, I got where I didn't really like people coming to me saying, I need a raise. I need a raise. We just set up the qualifications, go, this is how you can get a raise. And it's not based on time served. It's based on production and meeting
time
these
served.
Yeah, right. That sounds horrible when we're talking about a leadership training company. But that's usually how it works. There's
an orange jumpsuit on over there. Just put that on.
The one with the squeegee logo on the back. You'll look great. But most corporate jobs or whatever, it's like after 6 months, you get a review and they'll give you a 15-cent raise, and you want to commit suicide. It's horrible. So we just went, we want to give you control over what you make. So your production level is this, your customer feedback score is this, and you have to read the next book and discuss it with your manager. So, and they're all easy books. They're, it's How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Have you ever had anyone say, I don't like reading?
Oh yeah.
What happens? You're like, well, I guess you don't like raises either.
Well, no, I don't. I said, so clean fit, what's the I stand for? And they're like, innovation. I'm like, okay, cool. How can you get around reading a book and still get the information? I mean, you can go to YouTube and have somebody read it to you. You can Google it and say, give me a book summary for How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Yeah.
Get the core points. Just work around it. Figure it out.
Go to ChatGPT and say, I'm meeting with my manager next week. I need a summary of this book. What should I be prepared to talk about?
Exactly. And you know what? We've only had one person do the summary thing. And I praise them because I'm the 80-20 guy. I'm like, don't read the whole stinking book. Just get you just need the points and understand them. So get a book summary. Call it good. Cliff notes are fine. We're not,
I used to do that. I actually like reading now. I do audiobooks, but in school I hated reading. So it was like, read this book, do a book report. And I never read any of them. I mean, it was like not even 80-20. It was like I did 1%. It was like 99 and then 1. I would just read the front page, the couple middle pages, and then the back cover. And that was my summary, So yeah, do what you got to do. Innovate.
Yeah, innovate. So I want to bring something home. And this is going back to an earlier conversation we had. With the 80-20 principle, it's like you ask the question, what are levers you can pull to get a bigger result with less effort? And we'll use you as an example. So if you've got a lead that wants a quote on a job, you can go out and give a quote on the job, and you can just be the guy that just delivers the quote. Like, let's go out there and go, okay, it's going to be $8,000. Here's your quote, and walk away. Or you could be the guy that comes out and says, hey, I want to answer all your questions. Let me tell you about what this is and how it works. And you can make the connection. You can build rapport. You can have a conversation and discover their needs. And then you can build a quote that has 3 separate value propositions, like 3 price points. You can use the price marinade. and you can say which one of these is best for you. And you're going to have a higher closing ratio. If you do 10, like here's a quote, you put it right on the back of a business card. Or if you have a presentation folder with all the information and it's spelled out and you got 3 price points, you go, which one's best for you? You follow up with them. One, first, number, whatever, example A is going to get 1 out of 10. Example B is going to get 6 out of 10, but it's the same 10 leads. But you 6x your money or 10x your money because you priced higher. That's not even, that's free.
100%. It's crazy. Like the difference between these like highly successful companies and the ones that are just still struggling or sometimes go out of business is literally the 80-20 principle. It's like pulling on these levers that give you these bigger results. It's not, I mean, you're still spending 1 hour with someone giving a presentation or 15 minutes or however long it is. But what levers are other people pulling that you're not? It's just wording things different, framing things different, offering things different. And it literally just amplifies your business. Amp. See what I did there?
Like that. Love it. Product placement. It's like having the Coca-Cola in the scene in the movie. Same thing goes with like proper follow-up. Like if you give those 10 quotes, then you never talk to them again. You just wait for them to call. Well, that's kind of dumb. But if you follow up with them give them a phone call or send them a text or email, and you can set all that up, automation, just have an automated follow-up series. It might bring you an extra sell out of 10. Dude, that's free money. I mean, that's a big result for a tiny effort. It's a lot less effort to text somebody 2 days later and go, do you have any questions? We're ready to get started on your job, than it is to not do it. I mean, it's like the hour you spent doing a presentation versus the 2 minutes it took you to automate a text. That's low-hanging fruit.
It's crazy. And honestly, it's those marginal opportunities. Because in landscape lighting, if your average deal is $10,000 and you're able to just squeeze out just one extra sell a month, just one, that's 120 grand. I mean, that's huge, and what's cool about that 120 grand is your overhead, all your other expenses are already applied. So that extra marginal deal is way more profitable than the all other jobs that you got that you had to sink back into your company and everything.
Yeah.
And that's just 1 a month. Then when you get even a little bit better and start squeezing the toothpaste a little bit more, you get 2 a month. There's 240 grand. And the profit margin on those, again, are just through the roof because you've already figured out how to pay your bills. So I love this stuff. I could talk about this forever.
There was a guy that was in AMP. So let's talk about, the upsell, but not the upsell when you're doing the quote, but like when you come to do the job. And I don't know if we never talked about this with landscape lighting, though. I could assume you got everything laid out, and there's maybe an easy upsell that you can make. Like we could add X lights, and you have them in your truck. And so when you're putting everything on, you're like, hey, while we're here, if you'd like us to do X, this will really illuminate that tree or whatever. It's just an extra, $1,000, but maybe you've got $100 of materials on hand. So that's almost a pure profit upsell. There was a guy that was doing, I think they did gutter installation, or maybe it was soft washing roofs. It's part of the mastermind. We, with the mastermind, we have the $10,000 ideas that people share. And he said, yeah, like his presentation was, here's my $10,000 idea, upsell the little gaskets that go around the vent pipe on the roof. And I was like, God, that's so dumb. Why'd you even say that? I mean, I didn't mean to be critical. I didn't say it out loud, but I've learned to hold my tongue and hear people out. And he's like, yeah, I keep a bunch of these in my truck. They cost me $20. And we'll get up there on the roof and we go, yeah, Mrs. Johnson, that thing, here's a picture of it. It's dried out. It's going to leak. Would you like us to replace that? I've got one here in the truck. It's only $280. And he said that everybody says yes, because the problem is made aware and solved. Costs them $20 and 2 sentences to sell.
That's crazy.
He was like, we do like 5 of these a week. I'm like, that's $1,250 a week extra.
That's insane.
Net for what? I'm like, okay, I'm glad I kept my mouth shut. That was not dumb. The guy's a genius.
That's awesome. So many good ideas out there. So many ways to win. That's what I love about the era that we're in right now. whether it's online, watching Lighting for Profits, whether you're listening to the 80/20 show, going to AMP, whatever it is. So, all right, let's close it out. Do you want to just tell us real quick about the 80/20 show, how people can get a hold of you, if they want to join AMP, anything like that?
Yeah, really quickly. And thank you, Ryan. Thanks for having me on. The 80/20 show is an interview style podcast similar to this. And we're always ferreting out the levers you can pull that give you an outsized result for very little effort. So I'm always teasing out what the experts are doing, what really smart people are doing. It's the website is the8020show.com. It's pretty easy. If you look on iTunes or Spotify, it's the 80/20 service business, because we focus mainly on service businesses. And then the AMP Mastermind, oddly enough, you can go to ampmastermind.com and
Clever.
then you'll find it. I know. Is that crazy?
Yeah.
And that's for, that's a higher level scenario. We do vet everybody that becomes part of the group, because we do have a set of core values that, like, you've got to match up to this. You got to be doing over $500,000 a year in revenue, and you want to grow by 50% a year or add 50 grand a year to your bottom line. I mean, those are the basic kind of guidelines. They're not hard, fast, but they're close. And but that's for men and women that are really in growth mode and want to be a business owner, not an owner operator. We help people grow to that level. So either, one's going to teach you while you're doing your work. That's the podcast like this. And the other is hands-on. It's quarterly. You go to Nashville, to one of the coolest locations we've ever found, the Standard, which is the oldest private club in Nashville. It's so cool. It's old money. And it makes you feel, being in that building, I feel wealthy, because, it's all leather and cigars and shit, whatever. It's cool. Anyway.
Yeah. I mean, I don't smoke cigars, but I feel like I have to. You go in there, it's like, well, if you want to be part of the club, is that part of the core values that I skip through that in the interview process?
Yeah, the core value, must smoke cigars. No, so it's funny. We originally started that, and it was the BBB. It was called Business Bourbon and Bullshit, because it was a bunch of guys that basically did that. We were very serious about business. Everybody enjoyed bourbon, bullshit. And then we're like, as we grew a little bit, like, not everybody drinks. Not everybody, that's not. Let's change the name. And so we focused on what the core of it really is. It's about amplifying your business. So we called it AMP. We just rebranded, and it's still pretty awesome.
It is awesome. It's a great location. It's quarterly in Nashville. So if you guys have any questions, reach out to me, reach out to Sid. Sid, I want to thank you, man. This was great. I appreciate you taking time out of your day. I know you probably wanted to be out cleaning windows or detailing a car or something else, but I really appreciate you being on here, man.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you so much.
All right, guys. Everyone have an awesome week. Don't forget, keep moving forward.